Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Jamie here. I am absolutely pumped about this interview. I've got none other than Josh Cousins, the man who went from 0 to 100K in 4 months. An absolutely amazing feat as a very young man, if I'm not mistaken. I'll get you to tell the story in a moment. But yeah, absolutely stoked to have you here, man. I really, really appreciate it. I'm going to bring up the feed on my phone so I can have an eye on the comments and questions, all that sort of stuff come through. But if you do jump on the live, drop a hashtag live. Love to see you guys here. If you do see the replay, of course, do that other thing, hashtag replay or whatever you want.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on, Jamie. Really appreciate it.
Great to have you here. Who we got? Yusuf, William, how you doing? Obi, Stavros, right. I think we'll probably just kick off. I guess people are going to rock up as they do. Yeah, welcome. This is exciting. I'm pumped about definitely. This one. Absolutely pumped. So for those of you that don't know Josh, I'm going to literally just pass the mic over to him and let him explain who he is. Welcome. Thanks very much for joining me. How's it going? You want to just, I guess, kind of go back through your timeline and just kind of do a bit of intro and what you're up to and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, 100%, man, 100%. Well, I'm Josh. I'm living in Spain at the moment. I'm 20 years old right now. I mean, we can reel it back. Like, should I just reel it back right from the beginning? Because I just condense it as much as I can. You know, my memory is not too good because so much of that last 4 or 5 years. But I've been doing this online stuff for 4.5 years now. And I started back when I first got when I got my first job as like an order picker. So I was picking orders, and pretty much when I got to that job, I told myself, give yourself a 2-year window, Josh, to quit this job and to do something business wise. And business was like, I wanted to be a fitness person, selling kind of merchandise at one point. Then I kind of ditched the gym, then moved online, doing a bunch of different things. And in that time frame, that 2-year time frame, I kind of did a few things online, saved a bit of money, then I quit my job. And those 2 years weren't really that important. They built like the foundation of what I kind of built up online, but not that important. Nothing exciting happened. It was only really like after I had quit my job, pretty much, and I'd quit my job. And what happened was I got involved in like some coaching, was trying to do solo ads like as a business, funnily enough, and I got ripped off from this bloke who overcharged me for some coaching, and just kind of ran away with my money. So I was like, no money in my pockets now.
Brilliant business plan right there, guys.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just, it's just insane. And that was just me being naive, just being naive and just got my money taken from me. But it was a good lesson. I think we all have to experience that at some point, just to kind of experience that hard hit to just avoid it again. You know what to look out for.
Some of us don't learn as quickly as others, though. That's the problem with hard lessons.
That's the problem. But luckily, I did learn pretty quick from that mistake, and I ended up back moving at my mum's in France, which was a bummer because it wasn't like the best environment to be in at that time. And that's when this whole Facebook stuff started, which is what I'm doing now, kind of doing my thing on Facebook, building up the community on Facebook. And that's when things really started to take off. I started doing drop shipping. It was 2018. And I did drop shipping like the first 3-4 months, but lost my money. And then in kind of April, May time, I jumped over to Facebook. And that's kind of where I got my start. I started just posting on Facebook. I obviously had a bit of business experience. I built a foundation over the course of 2 years. And then from there, man, I just doubled down. Like I had no money. I had nothing to my name. I was like, it's either make this work or go back to a job. So I just doubled down on it, kind of like I just went absolutely mad on consuming content, like personal development content, just figuring out the mindset stuff. Because I just, at that point there, at 2.5 years struggling online, I just knew it was just mindset, like what was in my mind. Figured that out, and then I just got straight into Facebook and started pushing it hard, like 6, 7, 8 hour days, just literally talking to people every single day. And within a span of like just over 4 months, I had done $100,000 in 4 months. Completely fresh start for my Facebook profile. So absolutely mad to think about, but it was one hell of an experience. And from there on, it's just kind of transitioned into what it is now. over the last 2.5 years.
Can I just confirm something? Did you say that you left school at 16? You went into the workforce, and then was it you 18 when you pulled off that grand feat of 100 G's in 4 months?
I left school at 15. I wanted to leave school at 15, not 16, because I thought it sounded cooler. So I left school like a couple months before it ended. That was the whole...
how lame do I feel? I left school at 17, so oh man.
Man, come on.
If only I could rewind the clock.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I knew it wasn't going to really benefit me, so I was just like, screw it, I'll just leave anyway. I'm not academic. I'm not someone who's like academically smart, so I was like, screw that. And but it was 18 where, well, just over 19 where I hit that 100 grand mark, just over 19.
All right.
Yeah, so it's pretty
That's
cool.
ridiculous, man.
Yeah,
absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, one hell of a journey, man. One hell of a journey. A lot of learning curves, and even since then, that's been like a couple years now. Even since then, like I've had really, really big downs for men business-wise. So it's been one crazy journey, and now things are kind of starting to pay off after 4.5 years of doing this online stuff. Things are starting to pay off. So
the overnight success that's taken 4.5 years. So that's the thing I love. I wanted to touch on a couple of things. One of the things you mentioned before was you started at the age of 18 getting into personal development stuff, which I think is quite remarkable because, like, I talk about mindset a lot, both in this group and obviously SA and stuff like that. But it's only I'm like, on the verge of turning 39 soon. And it's only something I've started delving into in recent years. So to have the foresight to start looking into that stuff as a young dude, I think is pretty damn cool. Question off the back of that though is, like, obviously you've got a strategy, you're doing your thing, which do you mind sharing that part of it to a certain degree?
Yeah, sure.
My question before you get to that though, I've got two parts to it. First one is, how much of your success do you put down to strategy versus hard work versus just having a crazy, ridiculous mindset?
Yeah,
in a good way.
Yeah, that's a really good question, man. It's a really good question. I think it comes down to a few different factors. I mean, I think a lot of it, the majority of it, comes down to mindset and just being in the right place at the right time. And I get into that in a minute. But like mindset wise, like I had to fix that because my mind was all over the place. Like I was just kind of really bad self-esteem, loads of things distracting me, thinking things weren't possible, and just being very easily distracted, not having no focus whatsoever. I could not sit down and do more than half hour's worth of work on the computer. I just couldn't because I just get distracted and do something else. And I had to fix that over the course of probably 4 or 5 weeks. Doesn't sound long, but I was doing it for like 4, 5, 6 hours a day, just sitting on my computer because I had nothing else to do. And I just and back then I just kind of, what I did was I just kind of formed like a mental barrier around my brain, just like, the environment that I was in wasn't good, so I just kind of formed this barrier around my brain and just nothing came in there. And I was in my bedroom for 6 months straight and I did not see a single soul, a single person except my brother and my mum. Didn't talk to nobody, and I still do that. I haven't seen anyone changes,
Not out of choice now though, right? Like it's we're kind of confined by the lockdown.
And that was it. That was a huge shift for me. I do put a massive part of the success down to mindset, and then another small part was the strategies, the tactics and whatnot. But I feel like they're just overrated. They're overrated because at the end of the day, the foundation, the fundamentals of business are always going to stay the same. Treating your customers like respect, relationships, rapport, connections, all of that mindset, that's not going to change like in 1,000 years from now. It's just not. It's going to stay the same. But strategies, tactics, they change from, every 6 months, something new's popping up, algorithm changes, you've got to approach things differently. And I realized that. So I just really focused on the core fundamentals. And then the other part was luck and being in the right place at the right time. And now when I compare Facebook and the environment that we're surrounded by on Facebook, and you go on into Facebook groups, into ClickFunnels, into these big groups, or even just on your newsfeed, you see so many people, and it seems like they're all preaching the same stuff about Facebook and organic marketing. Back 2 years ago, there was none of that. Nobody was doing that. So I was at the
Sure.
right place at the right time, and I can 100% look at it now, and succeeding and doing what I did back then now would be way harder, way harder. Back then, when I think about it, Facebook and growing on Facebook was so much easier compared to now. The market has definitely like had a massive boom, and there's like a ton of people who've jumped in, ton of people, organic marketers sort of thing,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
very different. It's crazy how fast, it kind of moves on.
Yeah. There's a couple of interesting points you made there. I guess first and foremost, like you say, something, and I was kind of raising my hands and rejoice then, because something that I kind of hammer home to people is that, like, all the strategies and all the stuff that you can learn, they're all amazing. It's a lot of fun, but the reality is, if you're you're trying to operate on a broken mindset, it's not going to work. If you're trying to, you're not focusing on the fundamentals, then you're not going to build a business long term type thing, which I think is really important. Off the back of your comment just then, another thing that I kind of discuss often is the idea of competition. And in my opinion, I think that if you're growing a personal brand, yes, there might be more players trying to do similar things at the moment, but in my opinion, there's only one of you. There's only, there's a whole bunch of reasons why someone would buy from you versus me, for example. So I think that there's still a big chunk of pie out there, and probably always will be if you learn, like you say, if you learn those fundamental things. So I guess if we were to rewind the clock, and assuming that it's the playing field that it is now, not when you got started, but it is how it is now, and you're got a completely green profile, all that sort of stuff, and you start doing the organic stuff, what are you doing? Is the strategies different? Are you like, how do you kind of differentiate? How do you get yourself out there? How do you go through that process and just get in front of your audience and start getting that snowball going?
Awesome question. Do you know what? I think I would. Yeah. You know what? Looking back on it, I don't think I would change a single thing. I don't think I would change a single thing, because I feel like I could have done things a bit differently maybe, and I could have made a bit more money, could have done a bit more progress, like having a Facebook group back then. But the core fundamentals of fixing my mindset, I think that's something that everyone should do before they even think of jumping into business, is just get your mind right in the right, kind of frequency, or, whatever you want to call it. But the whole strategy I used was just document my journey. Like Jacob said in the SAM, one of the wiki calls, he mentioned that if you're a newbie, a complete newbie, and you start documenting your journey from the get-go, you have way more of an advantage over someone who's already making six figures who hasn't documented anything. Man, like, I documented everything from the first dollar I'd made to the, to the 100 grand, literally every single thing, So it was kind of like bringing people on a journey with me. And when I look back on it, like, it was nuts. It was nuts.
Yeah.
Like, when I look back, it's like, I was bringing people on the journey with me, so it felt like they were a part of something. And that's how I built my brand. And I feel like that hasn't changed. I feel like if someone were to do it today, they would still have a massive amount of momentum. If you get into an affiliate system, set up a business, you make your first sale, then another one rolls in, you document that, and then it keeps rolling in. Then once that momentum builds up, you just ride the wave. And I feel like that right there is probably the best thing anyone could do if they're starting out. Like 100. Like, if I started out, that's exactly what I would do. Document the whole entire thing.
There you go, folks. It was worth coming along just for that, right? That's insane. And I agree, man. And that's something that I think is really important for people to understand, is like, when you're seeing an ad and it's got like Lai Topez, I don't know if you follow Ian Stanley, anyway, it's a little inside joke, but you're following Ty Lopez, or one of those big gurus, right? Like, they're zapping around their Lambos and whatnot, which is cool, good on them, and all kudos to them. But I actually think and I say we being the broader community and just normal people, have like a significant advantage in that regard, because I think it's more relatable to have like, oh, he's the dude that was 18 that made 100 grand in 4 months off nothing, or whatever. Like, I think that's a more compelling story. And like you say, if you're documenting it as you go, I think that's really cool. So in terms of, I guess, practical stuff, because I think that's probably why people are wanting to watch this. And I'm going to delve more into the mindset stuff, because my opinion is that's infinitely more important anyway. But in terms of like how you actually do it, like what are you doing on a daily basis to kind of to get that, and also Actually, I'm going to jot down another question while you're addressing that one, if that's cool. I've got another one that's really good. Another curveball. Actually, I'll ask this other one first because I think it's really relevant. What do you say to people? And I guess in your own mind, what did you do before you'd had any results? And what I mean by that is, you're doing this process, you're thinking, am I going crazy? Is this going to work? Like, I've had like 300 people say no thanks or block me or whatever in a row. Like, how do I push through this and actually crack that first big sale and then kind of leverage that to snowball? Are you able to talk us through that process in your mind in particular?
Yeah, sure thing. I mean, that's the thing. Like, the amount of no's I experienced in the first couple weeks was just absurd. Absolutely absurd. But it was more detaching yourself from the outcome. It was more like, where is, if I get a no, so what? I can just look back on that conversation, see what I did wrong, but not be emotionally attached. Because at the end of the day, if you're trying to chase down a prospect who's kind of like a maybe, or they told you no, but you're still chasing them, you could just go out and close someone else, and it would take you the same amount of time and probably be even quicker. So I kind of like had that state of mind where it was like, if you told me no, right, well, piss off, I'm on to the next person. And that's kind of what I did. And it was just, just getting through a ton of people until I got that first sale, because I knew as soon as I landed that first sale, then it was just a case of riding off of that sale, post it up on Facebook, document it, get a second one, then do it again, do it again and again and again. And that's exactly what I did. It was just that first sale, or the first few sales, like handful of sales, is the hardest. It's the hardest. You have that mental battle. You're doubting yourself. You're getting a ton of no's. And obviously, once momentum picks up, you're getting way more yeses. You're getting way more confirmation and validation. But it was more, detaching myself from the outcome. Like, if it's a yes, cool. If it's a no, cool. I'm not emotional towards it. That was the big shift in my mind.
That's incredible. Did you have that feeling going into it? Like, did you know, I don't care how many no's I get, I'm just going to keep freaking going until this thing works? Like, you had absolute faith in the system, right?
Well, I was like that when I got started. I mean, I had done like a lot of mindset stuff, looking a lot into that. And I kept on hearing that again and again and again. Just don't be emotionally attached. Don't be emotionally attached to any sales process, whether it's messenger, the phone call, whatever it is, because you're going to mess up and people feel it. Like, when you're emotionally attached to, a sale, people can feel it. People can feel you being needy. And I was had the attitude, well, if you don't want to buy this, then cool, I'm fine. Like, even though I wasn't fine, I was kind of like putting on a front because I just had to stay focused. I just couldn't let that get into me. And I kind of knew that. And that was one of the biggest mindset shifts back then, looking back on that.
Did you suffer from limiting beliefs, being, I guess, like you say, someone who's, and I don't know if you actually view this as a negative necessarily, but someone who's left school early, you're a young dude, you're 18, like, was there anything in your mind going, why the fuck is anyone going to listen to me? I'm 18, I haven't even finished school, all this stuff. Like, did you go through that process, or is that something like that
100%
didn't exist? Yeah,
100%. I think it's something we all have at a certain extent. I mean, and I had it a lot, because it's difficult. You're just at any age, I think. Just coming online is daunting. It's daunting. It's like, you feel like people are going to judge you. You feel like people are going to be, disagreeing with you. But it just wasn't the case. And obviously, as soon as I noticed it just wasn't the case, like, it is very rare that you're going to argue with someone online. It just is. People aren't, out there to be dicks. And, so it was nice and easy, and I just kind of, when I first got into it, especially until I started making some money, there was that limiting belief of this is not possible. But I don't know, looking back on it, it was just weird, because I was so laser focused. I just, kind of didn't have any of those thoughts coming in my mind. Like, I was on my own. I was super focused on this. I just didn't let anything get to me. Obviously, it did come up sometimes, but the majority of the time, like, it was 99% support from people, just sharing my journey, giving advice, even though I was, 18 back then, giving advice. It's people to get on board. People took, as soon as I realized that, things got a little bit easier.
Just a side note for everyone watching at this point as well. It was really interesting, just before we jumped on, both Josh and I commented that even though we've done hundreds, if not thousands, of both interviews and lives and videos, blah, 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 there's still like a little pang and a little twinge of nerves just before you jump on. You think, oh God, what if everyone jumps on and like judges the shit out of me? Oh no.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting. It doesn't matter what level of success you are. Like, there's going to be outliers where people don't feel that and don't have those insecurities. But then, normal people, we all do. So that just a little side note. There was also something that you said. Sorry, I'm going to circle back to the question I was going to start asking before, which was just on a very practical basis. Like, what are you doing on a day-to-day basis to kind of go like and sell, basically? Like, how much of it is like learning versus doing, and like what are you actually doing during that time?
Yeah, so during then it was a lot of learning. It was way more learning than actually implementing, especially the first few weeks, because it was just a lot of sitting down, getting my mind right. But then once I decided to pull the plug and then start posting on Facebook, a lot of it had to do with just pushing out content every single day, because how you do one thing is how you do all things. And the thing is, online, I think until you build yourself up to a certain point, you need to be turning up every single day. You can't post one day here and then post one day 4 days late, like 4 days later or something. Like, if you're beginning, you haven't made that much money yet, you need to be showing up every single day. And that's kind of was the main thing. It was like posting once or twice a day, documenting my journey. Another part was, like, I guess the first few weeks, it wasn't like 8 hours of work, because I had to build that momentum up. But once momentum built up, 4 or 5 hours of my day, 6 hours of my day was just messaging with people. Like, it was insane. Like, just messaging with people. I was doing a bit of outreach, reaching out to people, just trying to build some rapport, plant some seeds. But a lot of it was just inbound from the results I posted. Made my first sale, posted up. People, hitting me up like, what's this, what's that? And the conversations were lengthy. It wasn't just a quick back and forth 2-3 messages. It was, you asked me what I'm doing, but I'm going to ask you where you live. How are you? Kind of just get to know you, then switch the conversation back to your question that you asked. So that was the main part of it. There was like a lot of learning, but like, as soon as I had done the learning, I was like, all right, I'm not going to learn anymore. I'm just going to start implementing everything that I've learned. So there was a lot of that. It was like, it wasn't really both at the same time. Now it is. Like, now I'm learning and implementing, but back then it was learn, then just implement. You need the money, Josh. Just
just get stuck into it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Get right into it. Yeah.
That's cool, and I think that's a really big takeaway for anyone watching as well, is that they all tie together. Like, if you're creating content, of course that ties into it. If you're you're actually going through and learning about the sales process itself, that ties into it. But it's the actual the messenger and the outreach and the conversations that you're having. That's where you actually have the option of and the ability to, hey, would you like to check this thing out, or should we jump on a call and talk about it and whatever, right? So that's a big takeaway there. There's something else that you said as well. Actually, no, before I get into that, another one coming off the back of that was, okay, so you've like just gone, stupidly hard work, and you've cracked this first couple of sales, one sale, and then you're like, oh my God, this is like life-changing. Oh my God, it actually is real. It's in your hand. You're like, I don't know, having a beer to celebrate, whatever you do. Yeah. I'm making a bold assumption there. I could be way off, but anyway, you're celebrating in whatever way you choose to celebrate.
Yeah.
And so the question from that is, how do you then use that as momentum? How do you kind of go, great, I've got one, now I can do it 100 more times, or infinity in your case, probably by now.
Of course. Yeah. So and plus when I look back, it was definitely a celebration. I remember the first sale I had. I even remember the person who ended up joining me. And man, I just got off my chair and I was like, yes, like it was like, I don't know, like it was $1,000, like 700-800 euros. So I was like, oh my God, this is nuts. This is what I would make in a month for my old job, and I'd been nearly like 6 months making no money, sort of thing.
Yeah.
When I had landed that sale, it gave me such self-confidence to just kind of get the next one. Like, it was weeks worth of work, and then it's like, I got this sale and it's finally paid off, finally. And then it was literally just a case of posting it on Facebook, posting it in my stories, just getting people to message me. And then that's when I realized that, quality over quantity, because I fell in that kind of realm of just trying to get as many people in my inbox as possible. But what happens is you just kind of end up half-assing the conversations. So in the beginning stages, I was really focused on more of like a small group of people instead of just trying to get a ton of people messaging me, and that's kind of what kickstarted it. So it was that first sale, document it, then kind of move on to the next sale and the next sale. Then it wasn't more of like milestones. I wasn't doing like my every sale. It was more like milestones, like first 5K, then 15K, then 25K. It wasn't 16K, 17K, 18K. It was just like kind of big milestones, big jumps, which was awesome. And I just kind of like everything was fueled just off of that, which was really, really cool. And I wasn't on Facebook posting 24/7, or in Facebook groups. I was just using my Facebook profile, adding people from Facebook ads, Facebook pages, and that was literally it.
That's amazing. I love it, man. I love it. So I did also have some other questions I wrote down, but there was another one that I just wanted to circle back to as well, and it was just a word you said most people aren't going to be negative, and it kind of reminded me like I think there's times when we're all going to experience negativity online and haters, and so on that, like I'm sure it's kind of a two-part question, but are you able to talk us through some of the setbacks that you've had, and I guess when it comes to facing other personalities, and how you've dealt with both the setbacks and I guess the unique personalities that are out there? Had to choose my words very carefully then.
Yeah, definitely, 100%. Yeah. I mean, there's definitely some unique people out there, 100% online. I mean, it can get a bit strange and a bit daunting sometimes, but I don't know, like I've never really been in a situation where I've had to face someone and I felt very uncomfortable. Like it maybe have happened a couple times here and there, but I never let it get to that point. I'm someone like, like you seem super chill, mate. Like you probably don't have anyone, kind of looking for a fight or anything. And it was the same thing for me. Obviously there were people out there who were like, oh, is this true? This is fake. This is that.
Scammer.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
That was especially. I had that after 4 months. I had that, and people didn't think I was a real person because I didn't do Facebook lives, there was like 2 photos of me. So it kind of, looking back now, it kind of probably looked like a fake profile. So there was a bit of that, but I didn't let that get to me. I'm a real person. I don't want to argue with anyone. I want to just kind of do my thing, and I still approach it with the same way. As soon as I feel someone just kind of like picking a fight or something, I'm like, all right, just leave me alone. So
yeah.
I approached it like that. But overall, like people online have been amazing, super, absolutely amazing. Really, really cool to see.
That's awesome. And the other part of that question was just in relation to, I guess, any setbacks that you've had. I know, like any business, right? There's always going to be things that pop up that like frustrate you, or that don't go right, or like your account gets blown up or whatever. So, firstly, what setbacks have you faced, and I guess how did you kind of react and deal with those as they came up?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question. I think the biggest setback I've had was right after I did that 100 grand. Just fell off track. Just absolutely fell off track. I had met Nikki, my partner, and we had started talking, and then we kind of fell in love and kind of like ditched business a bit. And the thing is, like big mistake. But I mean, that's why that's why I am where I am now, which is obviously great. But I feel like online, like once you have momentum, you just cannot let that momentum go. You just cannot.
Yep.
As soon as you have momentum, just do not let go of it and just keep riding that wave. Because as soon as I had kind of slowed down in business right after that, it took me 1 year to get back, like momentum wise.
Yeah.
And again, that was probably mindset issues as well. Just completely fell off track of it. Did this 100 grand, and then literally for a year straight, really, really struggling, like not knowing what I wanted to do, kind of being on Facebook here and there, but like do it for 3 months, then drop off because I didn't know if this was what I wanted to do. Like a bunch of, I had the mindset issues into it, when I had so there was
That's so funny.
Yeah, it's weird, it's crazy, but that's the biggest setback I've had. I've never really had any trouble with business, anything like that. It was more mindset. It was just I didn't prepare myself mentally for what was to come.
I think the moral of that story is just never fall in love, basically, because that's what screws everything up.
Yeah,
It's
literally.
always
Yeah,
those partners in there, they always want your attention and stuff, and take you
yeah.
away from their business. No, I'm kidding. That's you've got to have, and I think this is actually kind of an interesting talking point as well, is that like now I'm sure things look like they're kicking butt, which is amazing. So the other side of that is you've gone from when you first started out, which was just like hustle and grind and mad respect to you. But I'm pretty sure, and I could be wrong here in my assumptions, of course, that does tend to happen on the daily. But yeah, I'm sure you've got a lot more balance in both your day and in your business now. Yeah, that's was that something that you had to learn, or just kind of came organically as part of running the business?
I had to learn it. I had to learn it. I still am learning it. Like more changes now, mindset wise, are coming like now in the last 6 months. It's been insane because the thing is once you like from like you have all these mindset shifts you have to do in order to start making money. Then you start making money. Then you start making a full-time income online, whatever it is. Then you're faced now with other mindset issues like, all right, how to keep it consistent, how to scale, how to get to the next level. And that is so hard, so hard. And this year has been absolutely insane. And I really had to learn to slow down. Like my mind 24/7 is focused on business and constantly like sometimes getting a bit anxious. Like you say you get to 5 grand, 10 grand, 15 grand a month, then you're like, crap, like how do I get to 25 grand a month? How am I even going to scale to 7 figures? And then you start panicking and having all this negative self-talk. And that's something, man, like I've had to take a massive step back and just let it do its thing because business is, I'm in a good position and I just, a lot of mindset work.
Yeah. It's interesting. I can relate to that very much. And it's just waves. Like I think you go ebbs and flows with business in general, and it's like we're not designed just to go sprinting in a marathon. Like it is quite literally a marathon, and I think sometimes it takes a little bit to kind of reset and work out those limitations. And I went through something similar earlier this year as well, where I'd hit kind of like a pretty decent income level. I was like, oh, this is cool. Like I'm enjoying this. And then for some reason I decided like emotionally and mentally just to give myself a complete break, and I just chilled out and I just assumed that would just keep rolling, and it very much did not keep rolling. And so it was an interesting lesson to learn. So on I guess a practical level in terms of the day-to-day stuff for you, like how are you keeping track of things like all your messages and things like that?
Yeah, like for me, it's so funny because I don't really use any systems or anything like that. For Messenger and for Facebook, I just kind of wing it. I just like to run the business winging it. Not like I take it super seriously, like super seriously. Like customers, clients, people, making sure I get back to every single comment, every single message. But I don't track it. I just kind of like wake up in the morning. I more have a structure to my day. Like I wake up in the morning before this interview, I got back to all my messages, to some comments, got people approved in the group, all of that sort of stuff. And that's kind of how I'm dealing with it. Then in midday my time, I'll do that again, check back in messages. That's kind of what I'm doing. Then when it comes to follow up, I have like a little spreadsheet where I have people's names in there that I have to follow up with in there, and then just like color coded. So that's what I'm doing now. Like nice and easy, nice and easy. I want my business to be. I really want it to grow like to immense numbers, but I also want to have fun doing it. I don't want to break my neck doing it.
Yeah, it's interesting you mentioned that. I think once it stops becoming a challenge, and because in my mind a challenge is fun. I'd like a challenge. Like it's something in front of you. You have to work it out. It's like a big jigsaw puzzle, or because that's how you do jigsaw puzzles apparently. And and so but then it's kind of an enjoyable process to figure that out and like get to that next level, and how can you optimize that and stuff. And I think that's kind of an interesting point that you make. Like once it stops becoming a challenge and fun, then it's not fun anymore.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's like a video game. You really do have like different levels and different ups and downs, and like it's crazy because when you start out in business, you think this is hard, but then obviously you get to the next level. Like it's like when you're making a certain amount of income. Like say you're starting out online, now you're basically competing against other people who are also just starting out online. It's kind of cool because you're all interacting with each other. It's all new to you. And once you start making, say, 5 figures a month, you're now competing against others who are also making 5 figures a month, and then it just massively competitive because people are just thinking differently. People have this mental edge where they're just even more driven, and it kind of scares the shit out of you sometimes. You're like, oh my God. You know, like what happens if someone kind of, you know, does this or does that, blows up, and all of this sort of stuff. So you got like lots of things go on, but it's exciting, man. It's really exciting, and it's really, really cool. Really, really cool.
Absolutely, man. There's a question popped up, and I think it's kind of relevant. It's basically, what's your night routine?
My night routine, like, you mean sleep?
Yeah, I'm guessing you sleep. I mean, maybe. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess.
Is he implying that you just stay up all night working, or like?
Actually, it's funny. Yeah. Night routine. Yeah, sleep routine. My routine's all over the place. Absolutely all over the place. It's been better the last week. But before, what I would do is, because it's so hot here in Spain, like I'm sweating right now, like I'm super hot. And what we used to do is we used to kind of work till, you know, like 1, 2 a.m. And then wake up pretty late. But it was way too hot to work in the day. So right now my routine is pretty much I go to bed, you know, before midnight, wake up at like 7, 8, and just get on to work with them if that's what that person meant. Just like but I don't really have any crazy routines. I just kind of take it as it comes, you know. So I try to be as productive as possible, structure my day, make sure there's no distractions or anything like that. You know, I like to know what's happening in the day.
Yeah.
You know?
That's an interesting one. You mentioned about no distractions, and I kind of like to sit on that topic for a while, as it comes back to the mindset stuff as well. Like, can you sort of, if it's possible, to condense down some of the lessons that you've learned? I mean, obviously now, because you sounds like you've gone through ups and downs, and you know you've done the whole round, which is really cool. But I guess going back to, like, you've cracked the 100K mark in 4 months. You decide to take the rest of the year off or whatever, go fall in love and all that sort of stuff. What are you able to condense down? I guess some of the key mindset shifts that you had to make in order to allow that to happen.
Yeah, I think one massive one is when you start out is to understand it's going to be difficult, because I feel like a lot of people, the reason why they give up is because they just have these massive expectations of what business is going to be like. But the thing is, the reality is it's very hard to kind of do things online. You know, really is. There's so many factors to go into it. It really, really is hard. And it sucks to say it because, like, a lot of it, of course, a massive amount comes down to mentorship, coaching, having the right people around you, but also what goes on in your mind. And then you combine all of that together. It's like, man, the chances of succeeding is literally 1%, you know, like really, really difficult. But I feel like a big mindset shift, again, for me, was another big one, was just understanding, hey, Josh, this is going to take a lot of work. It's going to be hard. You could be at it for months. So don't get discouraged if in 3, 4 months you're still not making money. Keep going, because other people have done it before you. If they can do it, you can do it. Like, kind of, that's the thing that I had kind of ticking off in my head, because shiny object syndrome is simply like, you know, a big release of dopamine. You know, the first 2, 3 months you do something, you're like, whoa, this is so cool, yo. And you're like, then it kind of fades off. Then you're like, oh, what the hell? I got to be doing this every day, you know, and then you go over to something else. So I think it's just having realistic expectations, but also expectations that if this were to work out, what could it become? Like, if it were to work out, I could be making 100 grand, but I also need to expect that it's going to take a couple years or a few years to get there.
Yeah. Interesting that you say that. Obviously, you and I have had incredibly different paths. I started in 2011. Took me a long time before I kind of ever got any commissions at all, and that was because I was like completely unfocused, and I take full ownership of that. It's just part of my journey, basically. And I kind of like, there's, you know, I seem to be the type of person that, you know, when you read like mindset books and it says, you know, stay focused and you know, commit to that, blah blah. I'm the kind of person that has to learn through experience. So I like, you know, exactly. I don't want to stay focused. That's stupid. Dumb advice. So yeah, that's
That's
I can
funny.
kind of attest to that. When things did kind of finally click into place, I was like, you know what, I know, like if it takes another 20 years, I'm still going to be doing it because I enjoy the process, and it's just like I like it. I love what I do,
That's the
and so I don't,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Because
don't care like
also,
what it takes.
I also think that what we do here is kind of like any other career, sports, acting, athletes, whatever it is. You've got to have some sort of drive and passion to do it. And it probably sucks to hear that, but you've got to find enjoyment in this. If not, you're not gonna succeed. Period. You're just
Yeah,
not. It's really, really difficult. It's like, because if not, you're just gonna be going against people who are just absolutely in love with business, and it just won't. If you want to be a rugby player, you don't really care, and then you're going up against someone who's just fanatic about it and has been training for 6 hours a day, it just destroy you, sort of thing. So it's kind of the same.
yeah,
And I feel like business, though, you can really find enjoyment in like a million different things. So it's not that hard, I
yeah.
think. Like I
I,
love. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think a lot of the time you can use the skills that you learn as a gateway anyway. Because I mean,
Yeah.
look at your pathway from. I mean, I don't necessarily mean right back, but even just 2018 when you kind of like cracked it and you're doing really well. If you look at the pathway that you've taken, and now you're like developing products and all that sort of stuff, and I know that you're a mentor and that prior to that as well. So, like, just because you're doing one thing now doesn't necessarily mean that you don't kind of pivot a little bit or
Yeah,
adapt or change or do something else and keep the vibe fresh type thing. So,
exactly.
um,
It's important. It's really, really important. Yeah. So I mean, there's so many things just to kind of find what you enjoy about it. I love interacting with people. I love replying to every single comment. I love doing that side of things. I get really good enjoyment off of that. And I know it kind of sounds silly, but again, a few months ago, I just told myself, Josh, this is what you like about this business. Like, so just focus on that.
yeah, yeah.
It's good. It's cool.
Actually, on that note, you probably have some of the most insane engagement I've seen on Facebook. If you guys haven't seen him, check him out, Josh Cousins. I'll leave a link to his group and stuff after the interview here. But how do you like you get posts with like 600 plus comments? How on earth do you keep in like replying to all those comments and plus the external ones as well? Like that just
Yeah,
does my
yeah.
head in to even contemplate that.
Oh man, yeah. It's I don't know. Like it's my I. Well, first we need to address the fact that I have no life. Like I really do.
One of
Like
the
my
benefits of COVID, right?
yeah, exactly. That plays a big part. Which makes things easier. But yeah, I spend a lot of the day just kind of doing exactly that. Like a few hours a day. Engaging, replying back to comments. So it kind of it makes me feel good because I get enjoyment off of that, but it also kind of hinders the fact that I could be making way more money, for example,
Yeah,
so it's kind of like a balance, but I don't mind, I love it. So
yeah,
and I just get back to it when I have the time,
sure.
so yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I think that was there's a couple of questions popped up in the thread there. I'll just read these out. Yeah, so off the back of the night routine, it was just in
No.
relation to making sure you don't compromise your sleep patterns, things like that. Do you have a routine for that?
Yeah, I try to turn off from work 2 hours before sleep. I try. Same for screens. Don't really want to look at my phone before I go to bed. Try my absolute best to pick up a book or to have a walk or to do something before going to bed, just to switch off because it's so important as an entrepreneur and a business owner just to do that. So
Yeah,
that's what I have. I'm really kind of trying to do more things when it comes to that because I'm learning more and more that focus, what you put in your body, what of this sort of stuff plays such a big part.
yeah,
That's
absolutely.
what I have going on right now. Yeah.
Um, oh, that's a really, really, really good question. What is one or two things that keeps you efficient and productive during the day?
Yeah, good question. Keeps me productive during the day. I feel like maybe breaks. So what I do is when I don't try to work ridiculous hours all at once, and I also feel like it's a what's it called, like a personal learning journey. It's important for you to figure out what kind of floats your boat, sort of thing. And what I do to kind of stay consistent and focused during the day is I work a couple hours, I take a break for 20 minutes, I come back, I work another couple hours, might take another break for like an hour. And I think it's important to understand that, again, a mindset shift, that you just because you're putting in more hours doesn't mean you're getting more done. I mean,
Yeah.
we both know that you can get more done in 3 hours than most people can get done in 10 hours, 20 hours. So it's important to have that, because a lot of the times I also kind of, I'm sure you experience, and everyone watching it experiences it, is sometimes you sit at your computer on your phone or whatever, and your mind is so like foggy, and you're just so unfocused, so unclear, but you just keep trying to pull through it. And the next thing you know, at the end of the day, you've got nothing done. And when that happens, which happens a lot, it really does, is I just take a break for like an hour or two. And that's one of the things that really keeps me consistent, during the day.
That's awesome, man. I appreciate that. It's a really good thing. I think, breaks are important, man. Like, I struggle with it sometimes because, we're not allowed to go outside at the moment anyway, really. But I'm allowed like 1 hour of exercise or whatever. But I try to get out. But interesting comment that you made is that you can work efficiently and you can get more done in like an hour or two than if you're sitting in front of your computer endlessly. This is a really good one as well. In fact, I'm going to show it on my screen. I don't know why I'm looking on my phone because I can actually see the questions there. Edward says, how and when did you determine when to change things up or stay comfortable where you are?
Cool, very cool question. I feel like, when did I determine when to change things up? I feel like as soon as like my income took a hit, or maybe little factors like group growth, like growing your group, if the numbers aren't going up considerably, or growing my engagement, or if it's taking a dip, that's when I decided to change things up. Like especially income. Like for example, like the first 6 months of this year, we were averaging, a good like 10-15 grand a month, first 6 months, but it just wasn't kind of scaling up. And after 6 months, it's kind of like, well, this is a business, we need to scale this up. So that was a shift. And then, ended up hiring a coach like a month ago. And then that's when we came out with like these products and stuff. And so that's another thing where if my income is just kind of like being stagnant or even taking a dip, going down, then I'm like, okay, well, we need to kind of do something else. Same thing for growing a group. So if the group is only growing, I don't know, like say our goal is 100 people a week and it's only growing 50 people a week, then I'm like, okay, well, we need to put our focus on this now. And that's kind of like, I want to keep it balanced. And I think, again, it's just kind of always trying to find what floats your boat. Is the monetization super important for you? Is the growth super important for you? Are they both important to you? And then making a decision based off of that. But that's what I do to kind of change things up when they kind of feel stagnant.
Love it, man. There's another one here. I think this one's quite good. Do you do anything daily to help with mindset, meditations? What has helped you in that regard?
Awesome. Yeah. So I do a lot of reading. Reading is something I've put into my routine a lot. Like probably like 5 days a week, half an hour reading a day. So to get that done, meditation, I'm going to be starting probably like this week. After this, probably go for a hike or something. A bit of exercise, put some meditation on, because I had one of my mates, like from like years and years ago, he started meditating and he said it just absolutely changed the way he sees things, his focus.
Yeah.
So I've never done that. I've always been the sort of bloke to see meditation and like reading as like kind of done, I'm realizing more and more that I need to just kind of have open hands and just consider the fact that a lot of successful people meditate, so I'll be doing that. I'm looking really forward to that.
And reading, it's such an interesting phrase that you use. Then reading is dumb. Classic.
It's so silly that I was in. I used to think like that, and honestly, reading has changed a lot. It's changed a lot for me. The way like I'm sure for you as well. Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. It's something that I've always liked the idea of reading. I just I like writing, but I suck at reading. And I mean, I can read. I'm literate, but like the process of actually absorbing information from a book, it's like. But then I started learning about dopamine and where you get that from, and now that you can kind of rewire your brain to like different things, and so that's been interesting. But yeah, the meditation's been a massive shift for me as well, just in terms of, I guess, focus throughout the day, and I guess keeping my moods in check as well is probably the other thing. That's been a big one for me.
Yeah, it's a really big one. You know, like going back quickly on the book side of things, is I feel like a lot of people find it hard to find books interested in reading. I find it also hard to consume and to remember the information. I can read a book and then get to the end and I don't even remember what the book was about. You know what I learned from it.
Yeah.
But I think that's hardwired because of the school system as well. It's like in school, reading a book is a chore. So you come out in adulthood, it feels like a chore, and it feels like a chore still for me now. But again, dopamine rewiring your brain. I'm trying to get to the point where it's like enjoyable, and I do think like a massive reason as to why people don't read is because of the school system, because they make it feel like something you have to do, So
absolutely. Which was one of the reasons why I finished school early and set off into the sunset to pursue my dreams, which took me nearly 20 years to live out. There's a really solid question here. So up to your first 50K, was your income mostly from outreach or your content?
For me, my first 50K was definitely content, 100% content. Outreach for me was I never used to do outreach to close a specific, like a sale. I was always doing outreach more in terms of getting people to see my content, getting people interested in me. And I feel like it's important, especially when you're starting out, if you can do some outreach, plant a seed with that person, like tailored messages, really building up proper rapport, and then they see one of your posts and they're interested in what you're doing, them reaching out to you is going to make it so much easier for the simple fact you've had a conversation prior to that. And that was my way of thinking back then. But a lot of the money I've made, and still now, I don't do any outreach except if it's to grow my group. That's one of the ways I grow my group, with outreach. But money-wise, it's just content. I feel like the RVR method, I feel like that does such a massive amount of the work, like a massive amount. If you do it right, it's like 75% of the work done for you.
So that's really interesting. I've got my own question off the back of that. Is so you don't. I guess it's probably changed quite dramatically now. But if we circle back a little bit, your goal wasn't necessarily to try and do a one pitch close, so to speak. It was just kind of like relationship building.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what I had learned back then when I was doing all this mindset training and just kind of growing that side of things. Is I realized like sales calls and sales conversations is a conversation. It's not a follow a script one-on-one. Of course, you need some structure, but it was more a real conversation between two people. People like the consumers are getting smarter. Consumers are changing. Consumers are kind of seeing things differently now. So that means us as business owners, we need to get smarter. And and I'm not a salesy guy. Like I've closed maybe 1 or 2 people, 3, 4 people on the phone. Like I can't do it. I end up making a mistake of having a conversation and end up talking about their kid and how they went fishing on the weekend. Instead of talking about. So I know
I've got a course that can fix that for you if you're interested.
Yeah. little plug. Yeah. That's kind of like just a conversation, just rapport building. It's what did it for me, and I feel like it's just, again, whatever floats your boat. I don't think there's not one way to do everything. I feel like there's just kind of a few different things. Of course, it comes all down to the same foundation, but that was just my way of doing things.
So I see another question there, and I've got another one of my own, which I'll get this one out of the way, and then how are you for time, man? We're coming up to the hour mark now.
I'm all good for time, man. I'm all good for time.
Okay, cool, awesome. I made the assumption that Josh was still in the UK, and so I made him ruin his whole day by scheduling it at the wrong time. Sorry, man. Anyway, I think this is a really good question. Is your content any different now as compared to your early days?
Yeah, very good question. I love it. Good one. I think my content has not changed at all. I not really. I mean, it's gotten more specific, more in depth, more informative. But the foundation of it, of just being blunt, being truthful, being myself, and following the RVR method. Like, I wasn't even aware of it back then, but I was doing it back then, and it's not changed at all. Back then I was way more pushy when it comes to sales and making money, but now it's still the same. And right now I don't post as much because it's too busy with other things. But yeah, my content is staying pretty much.
You don't post as much because it's very hard to keep up with like 900 comments per post. Yeah, that's why.
I can't deal with that. Yeah,
it's awesome, man. I'm getting my very carefully crafted notes here, which that was a joke. They're not crafted at all. How got started? Yeah. So, what are some of the key drivers to your success in your mind?
I think consistency, persistence, a lot of hard work. Just the typical things that everyone says,
like, yeah, all the cliches, basically, right?
Yeah. I really do think it is. I mean, like I think the more the consistency part, not necessarily the work that I was putting in. Like, I was never grinding like 10 hours a day, because I also realized, again, like, mindset shift, like, if you can do things consistently, imagine you're working 10 hours a day. You can't do 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. You just can't. You have responsibilities, you have your partner, you have things that you want to do, you have a life. And say you're trying to do that, you'll probably be able to put in 4 days a week, proper 10 hours, proper work. And I put in 5-6 hours a day. I can probably do that every single week, 365 days a year. In those 365 days, I'm making way more progress. So I realized that it's not necessarily the intensity, it's more day in, day out, day in, day out, day in, day out. I don't miss a day. I don't remember the last day I did not, maybe 2-3 times over the last 2 years, where I just did not do anything, like on a specific day. Every day I'm at least getting back to everyone in my inbox. So I feel like it's more the consistency part that really plays a massive factor, and just not being super persistent. That's one of them. Then another one, I would say, being at the right time at the right place. I feel like the consistency, the hard work creates a massive amount of luck and momentum, and it puts you in a position where you can be approached, and just different opportunities come in your way. Like, the more you put yourself out there, the more opportunities are going to come your way. But I just feel like I was in a perfect spot, looking back on it. Perfect spot, perfect time, and it all lined up to this point. It's the same for everyone who's going to kind of branch out to this online thing. In 2-3 years, you'll look back and you'll be like, wow, all of this kind of happened, and it's brought me to this point now where I am. And so, yeah, I think that's a massive factor. And again, obviously documenting my journey. I feel like those are the 3 biggest takeaways: consistency, documenting my journey, and just really kind of doubling down on all of that.
So there's another question which I'll pop up in a minute, but I guess if you were to rewind the clock and go back, you do like and fast forward to now, where, like you say, you mentioned I guess right time, right place a couple of times. Are you doing anything differently if you have to start again now, or are you just adopting those themes you've mentioned and just keep smashing it out that way?
I think I would do everything the same. I would have a Facebook group though. That's something that I look back on and I really regret it, because we started growing our group a year ago, and I'm thinking, man, like, I missed out on a year where I had like one of the biggest highs of the highs, so I kind of like bummed about that. I would do that differently, completely differently, because obviously once you have a Facebook group and you set it up right, it really can bring in like a lot of revenue for the business, and just kind of make it really easy for you to grow. So that's one thing that I can do completely differently. Also show my face more, go live or do interviews, just kind of be more that, because that was something that I was so insecure with myself that I just refuse to show myself on camera. Photos, everything.
Really?
Like, refused to. Yeah, it wasn't until I met Nikki that I started taking, posting selfies and just kind of like that sort of stuff. So,
she made you take selfies. I love it.
no, it doesn't sound like that. She made me taking selfies.
Yeah.
No, but
I
it was
said
more
take a selfie, damn it.
take a selfie, Josh. Yeah. But yeah,
That's classic.
yeah, like it was. Yeah, I would just do those couple things differently.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a really good takeaway. I've got another question. I'm just going to throw this up here as well. Which of the organic Facebook Facebook tasks have you automated, and which ones have you delegated?
Very good question. So for me, I still don't automate anything, delegate anything to anyone. Like everything that we do in our business is Nikki and I. It's the both of us. Obviously, there's two of us, so it makes things a little bit easier. I'm sure we'll probably end up branching out and kind of delegating tasks, outsourcing, automating certain parts of the business eventually. But for now, no, just kept things super simple. And again, this is these things where I like that about what I do, and the fact that you can have options that you can, if you want, you can automate a big part of your business, and the other side of things, you can also just be hands-on with everything. I love being on the receiving end of customers talking to me, or that side of things. So I think it's great. I don't do anything automated or anything like that. And
That's awesome.
I also think like one little quick thing is I feel like, especially in the beginning phases, like I feel like once you've made money, once you've made 5 figures, 6 figures, however much it is, you can automate anything you want, because you're good in your field. If you've made 6 figures in what you do, you're an expert in what you do. Pretty much, you're really good at what you do. So you can outsource. But if you're starting out, don't automate anything. Just be hands-on with everyone, because in today's environment, everyone is just automating everything. People who've made no money are just automating the comments, the messages, the friend requests, deleting friends, everything. So they do fuck all for an hour. They do like an hour's work a day. Like if you can just do 4 hours, be there hands-on, answer people, you have the advantage. You have the advantage.
Yeah. That's interesting. I think everyone just wants, if we could all just skip that whole work thing and then just get the money, like that would be kind of cool. What's the future hold for you? I mean, obviously you've got your free group, and I'll get the link off you. I should have grabbed that before. I apologize, but it's the Good Karma group. Is that the one? And in terms, you've also got your programs as well with similar name, if I'm not mistaken, or am I way off the mark?
The Facebook Incubator and the Facebook Accelerator. So those are the two things that we kind of set up over the last few months. Yeah,
that's awesome, man.
But
what's the evolution of your business? How does that look?
Man, like I got asked this question yesterday in the message. I didn't know how to respond, and I don't know how to respond now. Because
see where it goes, right?
Yeah, see where it goes. Honestly, my goal isn't to impact 1 million people. My goal isn't to make $1 billion. My goal isn't any of that. Is to, live an okay life, make money, obviously, really scale this up as much as I possibly can, like really as much as I possibly can. But just see where it goes. Yeah. Obviously we have like targets and goals, like 30 grand a month, 50 grand a month, 100 grand a month, that sort of stuff. But yeah, it's just see where it goes. Sort of journey.
Which is, I think it's kind of cool. I mean, it's important to have goals, but then, I think that the whole take it as it comes type thing is kind of cool. Do you see any like paid ads as part of your business evolution?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we're doing everything organic right now, and our whole business coaching and the things we sell is about organic traffic. So we're gonna have to figure out a way to kind of like not be hypocrites. Like just branch out. The way the organic market is we know that it's massive and it's growing, but paid ads is something that we want to do. We need to do, because just missing out on a ton of money, retargeting and stuff like that. It's missing out on a ton of money.
Yeah. So, that one in particular, man.
So it's something we're gonna do. Yeah. This year. I
think there's probably safe ways you can get around that as well. because I've thought about this as well. I'm like, hang on, how can I possibly promote something that's involved organic? But then the way that I view that, it's like it's the evolution of your business. Because I've been running paid ads. I don't know if you know much about my history, but I left the workforce to run ads for small business back in. I was squinting and looking away, like I had to think. I knew what the answer was. It was 2017. I did that. It's been a long day, and so basically, the thing there, obviously being an SAA and stuff. The thing that we often talk about is you, in my opinion, at least anyway, you're better off learning a lot of this stuff, which is just kind of like you're in the trenches. You're doing the stuff. You know how to use nothing but your Facebook profile to essentially create a business, and then then you're kind of pouring fuel on top of that. But I think that's kind of cool.
It's definitely something that it's like a transition phase. That's like one of those ups and downs things where you have to kind of learn a new skill because it's important as a business owner. So it's something that we're doing. Maybe I hit you up soon, mate. Maybe I hit you up soon about paid ads and whatnot, because I know very little about it.
Hard, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll give you the inside deal. So I guess that's all my questions. I don't see anything else popping up in the feed there. Any kind of final thoughts? Any advice to leave our awesome audience?
So I would say document everything you do. Expect it to be hard. Like, just make mindset shifts, because I feel like that's the most important thing. Because as soon as you're in the mindset of, things are going to be hard, things are going to be difficult, it's kind of like, I think it's kind of a silly way to say it like this, but a lot of people, not a lot of people, some people are out there who kind of expect the worst in everything. So when something does happen, it's a stupid logic, right? But they bad. When it does happen and it's better than what they expected, it's kind of like, whoa, cool, awesome, but I think it's important as a business owner because, geez, things are just never going to go to plan. They're just not. Maybe like a few things here and there once you have momentum, then you can make decisions based on what's happened in the past, or you can say, all right, we've done 3-4 launches already. We're going to make this amount the next launch. But if you've done none of that, you just need to tell yourself, like, shit, it's going to be tough, it's going to be hard, but I'm in this for the long run. That I think that's a really important mindset shift.
Yeah.
Also,
I like that.
Yeah,
I was just going to comment and say, the big takeaway is just be more pessimistic, and then when you do finally get a good result, it's like it makes you feel great.
It literally goes against everything in entrepreneurship and what we hear these days, doesn't it? Yeah. Like optimism. You just got to figure out what works for you. But I also think another important one is if you're starting your business and you're not making like a full-time income from it yet, is to maybe be more hands-on with your customers, hands-on with every single process you can do in your business, because at the end of the day, it's a business. You ain't going to get away with working 1 hour a day building a business up. You're just not. You need to treat it like a real business. That's the most important thing to realize. And if you're starting out, it's way better just to be hands-on with your customers, hands-on with adding friends, deleting people, growing your group, doing this, doing that, doing this. So the ins and outs of your business. You know exactly what to do. You know the process. When you turn on your computer, you know every single part of your business. Like a super important one. Yeah. I think that's what I have to say about it.
That's a very CEO thing to say, because a lot of the big CEOs that I've met, they seem to know everything. They have their fingers across, or their eyes across everything that's happening. And I think you kind of need to as being a business owner. Josh, it's been amazing. I really, really, really appreciate your time. Thank you for your insights and your wisdoms. And it's been a great experience. Last question is, where can we find you, and how can you help these wonderful people out?
Awesome. Yeah, man. Well, first of all, very, very much appreciate me having me on, man. I really, really, really do appreciate it. And everyone who's watching, who's watched, thank you so much. I only really have 2 places you can find me. My Facebook profile, Josh Cousins, or my Facebook group, which is Good Karma Business, and that's pretty much it. And then I have a couple products, but I don't want to pitch it here, mate. You know, I'm a
shameless plug away, man. This is your opportunity.
Jamie, what are you doing
You've
to
got
me? Yeah,
elevator pitch. Let's go.
Yeah, I have a couple programs, and they will show you exactly how to grow and scale your business on Facebook completely organically, without ever wasting any money on paid ads, on softwares, on tools, anything like that. So that's what I have going on right now. That was good.
You pretend like you don't have an elevator pitch, and then okay, then well, here's a little thing I prepared. Brilliant.
Oh my god, yeah.
That's awesome. I will leave links in the comments for you guys to check out Josh's stuff. Obviously, it's pretty cool. Got an amazing group, and I've been through at least one of your products, and it was really, really cool as well. So, and I got a ton of value out of it. So, Josh, thank you once again, man. This has been amazing, and thanks everyone that tuned in, and appreciate your time, man.
Yeah, thank you so much. You guys take care and have a great one.
Thanks, guys. Cheers.